Hi everyone. Thank you so much for taking out the time and joining the webinar. So we'll be starting now. Today in today's webinar, we would be talking about our Bank Statement Analyzer API and giving you a quick overview of the API. So quickly introducing the speakers for today. Uh, Myself, Pratisha Shetty. I am the marketing manager at Arya.ai. Along with me, we have Shaurya Negi, who is a data scientist at Arya.ai. Shaurya will be giving you an overview of the API and also answer any questions that you might have. So, talking about our company, we are Arya.ai. We have an AI API platform where we offer more than 70 plus ready to use APIs for automation of various operational processes. So, our journey started in 2013 by Deekshit Marla and Vinay Kumar. We are one of the first AI companies to pioneer in deep learning technologies. We have automated various key processes for BFSI industries over the years. So our platform offers APIs for financial analysis, onboarding, digitization, healthcare, etc. So we have a global presence in over 16 countries as of now. So today we will be majorly talking about our Bank Statement Analyzer API and how it works. So you will also be participating in a hands-on tutorial on the use of the API and also its features that will help you understand the API better. So now I would like to hand it over to Shaurya, who will take you through the API and its functions. So over to you, Shaurya.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining in this webinar, and thank you, Pratisha, for giving such a good introduction. So I'll just quickly share my screen. Just give me a moment, and then we'll start about the BSA API. Now we'll talk about the BSA API here. As you can see, um, this is the homepage of Arya AI API's platform, right? And here is the home screen. So what we'll do, since we're talking about the Bank Statement Analyzer API here, we'll quickly go ahead and search for the particular country we're interested for. So since this webinar is for Southeast Asian countries, um, we will talk about the Southeast Asian countries here, mainly Philippines, Singapore, Indonesia, and Vietnam. Um, so for this particular demonstration, I will go ahead and use a Singaporean statement here. So I'll go ahead and click on Bank Statement Analyzer Singapore, and we'll wait for the page to open. In the meantime, I'd also like to show you the sample statement which you're talking about. This is a DBS bank statement, Singaporean statement, and this particular statement is of 1st January 2020, and this goes on till 31st March 2020. And this is a demonstration. This is just a sample statement for this particular webinar. I will go ahead and open the Singaporean Bank Statement Analyzer, and then go ahead and proceed and showcase how to use this particular API. So as you can see, you can go ahead and log in into this website using your work credentials, or you can also log in through your Google account or LinkedIn account. Click on try it out here, right? And here you can go ahead and try the particular API you want to try. In this case, I will try the same bank statement. You can see here, this is how it opens up, right? I'll quickly go ahead and log into my credentials and showcase. And here I will upload the same statement which I showcased, which is the DBA statement. And while it is being processed, I will talk about that the BSA, as I said, highlights crucial trends and anomalies in a particular bank statement. The BSA API has a presence in around 13 countries, including the Philippines, Singapore, Vietnam, Indonesia, India, etc. I'd also like to mention that a BSA API is extremely versatile. We provide data in three formats, that is Excel, JSON, and PDF. Um, um, Thank you, Michael, for the question. How this webinar will take around 15 to 20 minutes. Yeah. So while this particular statement is being processed, this is a 31-page bank statement, which is quite large in comparison. So while it's being processed, okay, so yeah, this is the PDF bank statement. I'll also like to showcase the Excel statement, which we'll talk mainly about. So this is a basic PDF statement which we showcase along with the Excel as well as the JSON outputs. Um, quick walkthrough. We support all the major banks in Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, and Singapore. And also, I will, while we are taking the webinar, I'll also quickly keep checking questions from time to time and answer them accordingly. So another question was that what are the major banks you support? So in Indonesia, we support BRI Bank, Rakyat Indonesia, Bank Central Indonesia. In Philippines, we support Metro Bank. In Vietnam, we support Vietnoco Bank. Singapore, we support DBS Bank, for which I'm showcasing the sample statement for. OCBC Bank, etc. These are all the major banks which I just talked to you about. But yeah, we support all the major banks in the Southeast Asian region. So while the Excel report is being processed, I'll quickly go ahead and showcase the PDF statement. So here you can see the account summary section. The account summary section gives a quick snapshot of financial health. This sheet basically displays all the key metrics such as the available balance, total inflows and outflows. Yeah, I think the Excel sheet is also ready, so I'll go ahead and talk about the Excel sheet mainly. That is much more comprehensive and will help out. Just a moment. Okay. Yeah, so this is the Excel sheet. Again, this is just the basic information on the first page, the account summary. As I said, this gives a quick snapshot of financial health. This sheet displays key metrics such as available balance, total inflows and outflows. So you can consider this as your financial dashboard and have a look at the financial status of this particular bank statement. Accordingly, it also features quick links to sheets, allowing you to navigate to any of the sheets directly without going through the sheet name and just clicking on the links. So I'll go to the second sheet, transaction sheet, by clicking on this link. So this is the transaction sheet, as you can see. The transaction sheet basically gives a quick overview of all the uh, of it's like a financial diary. It lists every transactions you have made, right? As you can see the particulars, and also categorized by type and date. So if you look at the transaction sheet here, it gives you the type as date as well, like business transactions, outward transactions. So this is how someone who wants to have a quick look at the transactions sheet uh, and to see how the bank statement acts, right? You can quickly have a look at the type. So this is a rent transaction, for example, and that's how you can quickly have a look at all the transactions in this particular bank statement in this Excel sheet. This gives a comprehensive overview in that way. The next sheet we're talking about is the all-time top 10, all-time highest debits and credits. So this sheet basically is like a showcases the biggest transactions you have made or received, giving you insights of your spending habits or the bank statement holder's spending habits. So these are all the highest debits and credits in this particular bank statement, as you can see. So this basically gives a very quick overview for a person to understand where they have made the highest debits or credits. Right? The next sheet we're talking about is the transaction summary sheet. This sheet basically rolls up all the transactions into key categories and time frames. So as you can see, it gives the total number of debit transactions, total amount of debit transactions, total number of credit transactions, total number of debit transactions, and max amount, max debit amount, max credit amount, and gives all the important key information here. You can also have a look at it from a graphical point of view. So, for example, you can have a comparison of monthly debit and credit transactions per month. So here you can see that in the month of January, you had more credits and debits. You had more credits than debits, and the month of February it was exactly the opposite. So this gives a very key understanding of how the debits and credits vary over every month. So in a graphical point of view as well, you can also look at the debit and credit ratio. Here we can see that the total credit is more than the total debit in this bank statement. We can also make a conclusion. This is a pretty balanced statement in that way. There is no imbalance, or there's no partiality towards credit or no partiality towards debit. It is pretty balanced. Um, you can also have a look at it through numbers as well. For people who are really analytical in nature, can make a decisive decision making using this sheet. Similarly to the transaction summary, we have the balance trends sheets. Again, this basically gives the overview of balance over time in terms of opening balances, closing balances, highest balance, lowest balance, and average balance. So as you can see, the average balance in the month of February is approximately double of what the average balance is in the month of January and March, right? So in terms of numbers, we can make this analysis. But for people again who are more visual in nature, they can have a look at the graphs and make a decision. You can see that this basically validates the hypothesis which I made, that the balance in the month of February is all approximately double of the balances in January and March. Also, yeah. So yeah, while I'm talking about the bank statement analyzer, I will also have a look at all the questions from time to time and answer them accordingly. I have a question. I will answer that question. We do have the solution to that as well, which we will talk about. So I'll answer that question for you as well. Um, The next sheet will be the daily balances sheet. So the daily balances sheet offers a granular view of all your finances. It showcases your balance at the end of each day, perfect for those who want to have a close eye on their money and how it is being spent every day. The next sheet we have is the monthly top five debits, monthly top five transactions. This sheet basically zeroes in all the five largest transactions each month in both credits and debits. So as you can see for the month of January, you can see the top five debits and credits. So this basically again gives helps in identifying patterns or anomalies in your financial behavior. So this is pretty helpful in that sense. The next sheet we'll talk about is the inflows and outflows transaction sheet. Um, what this These are basically the two sides of the same coin. These sheets break down your earnings and expenses by type and frequency, allowing you to identify areas for improvement or optimization. So for example, this particular sheet gave me a very quick overview of the transfers of this particular bank statement. So we can see all the check transfers have been categorized in this particular sheet. All the fast transfer related transactions have been categorized into this particular area of the sheet. All the remittance transfer related transactions have been captured in this particular area. All the quick check deposits have been categorized into this particular area, right? And similarly, fast payment for a particular vendor, Peregrine security, has been captured here. So this is for the inflows, and similarly, you can also see the summarized point of view for the same. So for the past fast payment for Peregrine security has been categorized for every month as well. So you can have a look at how many transactions you have made to this particular vendor in this particular month, the number of transactions, the total amount of transactions, the average amount of those transactions. So this is helpful in that way. These are for the inflows. Now we go to the outflows. Similarly to inflows, you can see all the related check transfers which are debited from this account, all the related fast transfers which have been debited from this account, all the remittance transfer which has been debited from this account, and similarly all the related transactions. Here we can also see that we have point of sale transaction made to Fair Price Cooperative Limited. So this is how we can actually categorize transactions given to a particular vendor as well, and that we have the technical know-hows to do that. I had a question similar to this. Can the software further analyze the particulars? For example, if I want to know how many transactions I made to a certain beneficiary. So I hope this question answered this and the information which I shared kind of answered this question. that you can actually analyze, and you can actually get the number of transactions, the total amount of transactions, and the average amount of transactions every month for a particular vendor. In this case, it was Perigiant Security, and I hope this answered your question. If you if you have any follow-up questions, I will gladly answer that as well. So I talked about the inflows and outflows here. Now I'll talk about the recurring transactions, recurring credits, and recurring debits. So with recurring credits and recurring debits, we delve into regular financial activities. So these sheets show recurring incomes such as salaries, utility bills, or any OTT payments of any sort, such as Netflix payment made every month. So this particular sheet, recurring credits and recurring debits, gives all the recurring transactions and gives the analysis for that. So we can see that we had this particular bank statement clearing loans had done clearing loans for the month of January, February, and March at approximately the same dates, that is 14th Jan, 14th Feb, and 16th March 2020, respectively. Similarly, there were some pay now payments made to a supplier on the month of 13th January, 11th Feb, and 13th March, respectively. So these are the recurring transactions which have been identified in this particular sheet. Yeah. So the next sheet is the balance forecast sheet. Think of the balance forecast sheet as your financial foresight tool. So using historical data and transaction, it offers a projected account balance for future days. So this is something for better decision making in the future. So I'll just take an example. So this particular sheet has various plots and graphs which predicts future balance based on historical data. So as you can see, the initial balance of this account was approximately 49,000 or maybe 50,000 Singaporean dollars, since it's the Singaporean statement, right? And this particular statement had ended here approximately at the same amount, maybe approximately at 50,000 Singaporean dollars again. Then our forecasting tool, our AI tool, made some predictions and gave a final forecasted balance of 51,326 Singaporean dollars for the next month, which is not there in the particular bank statement. So basically, this forecasted the future balance based on the historical data which we have. Similarly, we have other graphs as well. You can also see how the deviations were there for every for balances over the past week for each day. So as you can see, the initial balance and the ending balance were pretty much at a similar trajectory, but there were some fluctuation in the month of February, which is correct, because in the month of February we had the average balance was approximately the double of the month of January and March. So this basically gives us another proof of that. This is another plot which I talk about, box plot. So again, this basically shows distribution of balances each month. So if you see at the black dots, these are the balances of every of that day of every month. So again, you can see that the balance in the month of January 2020, March 2020 are approximately the same. The boxes are at the same level, but the box of February is much higher comparatively. So this again validates our hypothesis that the balances of the month of February were approximately double as of January and March. This is the trend component of balance. The trend basically shows how the trend of balances was in the month of the duration of the bank statement. So this is a 3-month bank statement. So in the month of January, we had an uptrend in balance, which is correct, because in the month of February we had double the balance, and from February to March there was again a downtrend, because January and March balances were approximately the same. So this gives us a trend component. This gives us a basic overview of how the trend of balances happen over time. Um, so seasonality basically gives us the regular patterns during the week of a balance. So we can see that the balances per week were pretty balanced in a way, right? And we also have a monthly seasonality as well to showcase this. So this was about the balance forecast, which is very helpful for people who want to have a look at how the balances will be forecasted or how the balances will look in the future. We'll talk about salary credits now. So this basically previous balance view salary credit justifies its name. It basically gives us the previous balance before any salary is credited. So the salary 1540 Singaporean dollars was credited in the month of March, in the date of 11th March 2020, and the previous balance before the salary credit was 12,202 Singaporean dollars. So this basic sheet is pretty simple in that way. It gives us all the important information. We talk about the next sheet now, which is the high value transactions. So high value transactions basically gives any transactions which is over 100,000 in local currency will be displayed in this particular sheet. Since we are talking about Singapore, this will be 100,000 Singaporean dollars. So this particular statement did not have any transaction over 100,000 Singaporean dollars. So this depends on the country which you're using. So if you are using the Vietnamese bank statement, it will showcase any transaction over 100,000 in local currency. Um, so the next sheet is the next two sheets are non-revenue transactions and loan analysis, right? So non-revenue transactions identifies financial activities with strategic importance, but no revenue. So any ECS charges or any debit charges which are not part of any revenue transaction are showcased here. Loan analysis basically showcases all the loan related transactions in this particular bank in a bank statement. So this particular bank statement did not have any loan related transactions. So yeah. The next sheet is the bounce transaction sheet. This is like a financial cautionary tale. So this lists out all the transactions that have failed due to insufficient funds, or maybe sending money to an incorrect account number. In that case, the money comes back to your account. So this sheet basically is important for people who want to see if they made any transactions by mistake, or if there were any transactions which were returned. So yeah, this was all about the Excel analysis of our bank statement analyzer. As I said, we have three particular we have three formats for BSA API: Excel, JSON, and PDF. I in this webinar I mainly focused on the Excel format. And before I conclude from my end, or before I take up any questions, I'll just like to address the elephant in the room, that is data security. We understand the sensitive nature of financial information. That's why whenever you upload your bank statements, as you did it here, right? You can see PDF and Excel. So whenever you upload your bank statement, uh, into this particular platform, no data is stored or shared in our servers. Our commitment to data security is very important, and therefore we take all the necessary steps to ensure that your information remains confidential and secure. I'll also quickly talk about the JSON output as well, for people who are more technical in nature, for whom people who want all the information of the bank statement analyzer in backend in the form of JSON output, right? So as I already said, you have two options of using our service: either upload your bank statement here, or you can also use our platform from the backend. So you can employ tools such as Postwin for seamless integration if you prefer direct backend usage. So here is the API token. You can click on the I button here. You will get your API token, which you can use in your backend servers, right? To submit a request via the API, you can include the token, which I've mentioned here. In the body of the token, you can add a field of JSON, report type JSON, and with fields for request ID, report type, and doc-base64 string. So upon a successful request, you will receive a status code of 200 stating that the API request has been successful. And this response will contain a JSON object that will include fields for request ID, success, error message if any, and the information, the data from the JSON output of a BSA API. So whether you are an end user or a developer, our API functionality allows you to generate these reports effortlessly in the form of Excel report or a PDF report or the JSON report. So yeah, that is it from my side. There was a question there was a question requesting there was a question requesting um, requesting the output for the JSON format as well. So I'll quickly share that as well. Just a moment. Yeah. So yeah, I was talking about the documentation API here. So here is the API token which you can showcase and open up, and you can use all this information, and you can extract out the BSA API in JSON response. So I'll just very quickly go ahead and showcase the PDF output. Similar to the Excel statement, we have the account summary here. All the basic key metrics are here. Balance account statement period is here. Overview of transactions, as you can see. Again, similar to the Excel output, but for people who want a more visual nature, who want a visual output or want the information in a PDF format, all transactions over time, monthly average balance. Again, the balance of Feb is approximately double as of Jan and March. Count of all transactions, all the key important metrics. Highest monthly average balance was 120,000 Singaporean dollars in February 2020. Lowest monthly was in March. March is lower than January, right? So all the important information which you saw in the Excel output is captured here as well. Transaction categorized by transaction size. Any transaction over 10,000 Singaporean dollars is on the green side of the pie chart. Mode of payment, check transfer, fast transfer, remittance transfer. This was in the inflows and outflows section. Um, all the inflow related transaction, check transfer, fast transfer, remittance transfer, quick check deposit, fast payment to Peregrine security, all the outflow related transactions such as ATM, check transfer, similar to what there was in the Excel output, points in POS transfer, again in the output analysis. Then we have the top 5 monthly debits and credits, again same in the Excel output as well. All the top 5 credits and the top 5 debits of a particular month are captured here. Then we go ahead and look at the recurring transactions. Again, same in the Excel sheet as well. Uh, as we were talking about clearing loans here, so this is happening monthly. Fast transfer to a particular service, pay now transfer to a supplier is captured here. There were no recurring transactions in the sheet. So this is a quick overview of the PDF output as well, which someone requested, so I just quickly showed. Um, I have a few questions. I'll just have a look at it. So the first question is, some banks offer annual statements, most banks don't. Can your software aggregate the result from the 12? Right. Okay. So thank you for the question. Right now we do not have the functionality to aggregate different PDFs into one bank statement analyzer. We are working on the same right now. But if you concatenate or like merge all the 12 PDFs into one major PDF and then use our API, then you will get the results that you want. But if the question is to implement 12 different PDFs and then get one bank statement analysis in using our API, right now we don't have the functionality for that. I hope I answered your question. But we are actually working on the same since that is requested. Yeah. The next question is, yeah. Okay, thank you for the question. Um, so can we analyze with the summary and the financial? Okay, so um, it's a bit open-ended question. I'll just would like to know what metrics do we mean by capturing the financial health of a customer? So we have the basic information here, like credit to debit ratio could be a way of understanding the financial health of a customer, right? We can say that the overall credits are more than the overall debits here. So that's how we have calculated the credit to debit ratio. Or we have other metrics as well, that how what are the highest balances, lowest balances, average change per month. And we have a lot of many metrics. But is there any specific metric you're looking for or you're asking for? If, that will help me understand this question better. But we have all the basic metrics for a person to understand how the, I mean, if how the bank statement is it heavily towards credit or is it heavily towards debit? In this case, it is fairly balanced. Credits are just a bit more than the debits. So we can make a very basic analysis from the same. We also have a balance forecast sheet in which we showcased how the balances are fluctuating, and there also you can make a decision. But if there is any specific metric you're talking about, then I'll be able to like answer it specifically. If you have, so for example, if you have five different accounts, this is another question I like to answer. If we have five different multiple bank accounts, can we draw conclusions from different sources? Um, right now, again, as I said, we do not currently have the functionality of having five different PDF statements and then getting an output of a bank statement analyzer from our end. Um, Currently, we support singular bank statements or like concatenated bank statements. I hope I was able to answer this, but we are working on the same right now. But if you have any specific requirement as such, um, yeah, we can actually communicate about it and like help you out at the earliest for this. Let me see if there are any questions. Okay. Yeah, I had another question related to the usage of the JSON format. I'll just quickly answer that as well again. If you so we were on the try the API question here. Um, yeah, so we go to the documentation here, right? So you can use the API token here, which is generated, right? And so to submit a request via an API, you have to include this token, which is private to the account which you're using, right? Added and in the body here, in the body, you have to mention the request ID, the and yeah, the report type, which will be JSON, which is written here, request ID, doc type PDF, and the doc base 64. So after you implement this, you will be getting a successful status code of 200 stating API request successful, right? And once you get this message, you will get the required JSON response. But if it fails due to some or the other reason, we'll also get an error message for the same, which you can share with us, and we'll be glad to help you out. I'll also like to mention another question I had is that can we actually implement the bank statement analyzer for different regions? For example, we are talking about Southeast Asia here, of any bank which might not be, which I might not have mentioned, right? So, or any bank statement of any country, right? So the answer to that question is that we have our AI model is trained as such that it has the ability to generate responses out of any bank statements, provided they are legible enough for a person to understand what's happening, or legible enough for us to see and make actually have a look and see that there is this statement is not tampered with, right? Or it is neat enough, right? That's the only requirement which we have, that the PDF should be good enough for our model to at least understand. Generally, all the PDF outputs are good enough for any person also to recognize. So it's the same with our AI model. As long as a person can understand the bank statement, our AI model will do so as well. But in any case, the statement does not work for any reason whatsoever, you can you can talk to us, and we can quickly give you a resolution for the same as well. So I hope I answered that question based that if the PSA API can work for different regions and for different bank statements, which might not be so popular, banks might not be so common. Yeah. Okay. So the next question is, so there is no data for that I create over time. Okay. So uh, I'll just take an example. I hope I am correct. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So what you mean is that if you have 10 bank statements, maybe of different banks, you would like to like upload it into our API, get that data into our API, and then basically draw conclusions on those 10 bank statements, right? So if that's the question, again, the answer is that we do not have the functionality right now to handle multiple PDFs of same or different banks and make conclusions out of it. Yeah, so multiple bank statements from multiple banks over 2 years. Yeah, so if you want to do a comparative analysis of those PDFs, um, right now we do not have the ability to give you a conclusion, but what can be done is that you can upload multiple bank statements, get the response for all the bank statements individually, and then make your analysis based on the Excel output or the PDF output or the JSON output. But if you're asking that if we have the ability to give you a comparative analysis while you upload 5 6 statements, currently we do not have the functionality for that. But as I said, we are working on the same. And if you have anything specific requirements, feel free to talk to us, and we might be able to give you a resolution about it quickly. I hope I was able to understand your requirements. Okay. Pratiksha, I have a raised hand question. How do I attend to that? Is it a Q? Do we need to type in the question?
Sure, let me just check.
Yeah, I have a raised hand question, so I hope that if you could type that question, it would be really
Yeah,
helpful because I have multiple questions right now. So yeah, if that could help. Okay, so the next question is, what are your plans for the European Union? So yes, so we have been our BSA API has been quite in demand. So we have launched our BSA API in 13 countries. Um, we actually have plans to expand this to the European Union as well. But it depends on various factors. We If there is a requirement for a specific country in the European Union, we can actually have a look at it and talk to you about it as well. So if you have any particular country in mind, or if there is any particular bank in the European Union, uh, our API should be able to respond to it, but it'll be better if you could like talk to us about it in more details. We will have the ability to implement that in the European Union as well, and that is our plan to implement this in the EU as well. Um, yeah, I hope I answered your question. Yeah. Let me see if there are any questions. Okay, yeah, another question about data security. How secure is the data that we upload in the Excel or whatever you upload in the platform, right? So, as I said, data security is very important for us. So, once you upload your bank statements into this Excel workbook, no data is stored or shared. It is since this is financial data, it is really private in nature, so we do not share any, we do not capture or save or store any of this data. The sample statement which I shared is a dummy statement in its own. So so you might have had a look at the Excel output, you must have seen there's maybe something different about the particulars, and that is just because this is a dummy statement. Yeah. So the statements which you might use will have much more better particulars, and you'll be able to see it in the inflows and outflows in a better manner. And yeah. me see if there are any questions. Can we automate the generation of the Excel reports? Yeah. So automation of Excel reports can be done using the backend. So if you use tools like Postman or Webhook, right? Our API supports automation that way. So if you use Postman using the doc, if you use Postman and if you look at the documentation, you'll get all the information here on how to use this in the backend. So this can be used in for people who are more technical in nature. Yeah, this can be done. And yeah, so if your API request fails, you will receive a status code other than 200. The 200 is the API request successful message, which you can see here. But if the API does not work for some or the other reason, you will get a response with an error message as well here in the form of a string. Uh, and if you get that in any of the statements you try, you can feel free to email us, and we can talk about it and we can fix that quickly and help you out in case this happens. Uh, okay. Yeah, I'll just wait for another 1 minute. If there are any other questions, I have answered all the questions. Yeah, I think Nicole had a question. She had raised her hand. So in this webinar, we just gave you a overview of the Excel output and just a very quick summary of the PDF response as well. You can try the API out. You have free credits. You can try it on the statements you want to try it on. You can select the output report type, PDF or Excel, right? And yeah, you can either drag or drop or use the documentation as I said. And for the backend, you can give the report type, PDF, JSON, or Excel, and you can get the response you want. Uh, this statement, which we tried, was a fairly long statement. It was of 31 pages. So this took approximately a minute. But most of the statements are not that long. So the turnaround time will be much quicker comparatively. Pratiksha, I think I'm done from my end. If you have any final words, yeah, please.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking out the time and joining today's webinar. So, if you guys have any questions or if you want to reach out to us, you can email us, or we have an open platform. So, you can register using your company email ID and you can try out the APIs from the free credits that you get. And of course, if you need any help, you can reach out to us and we will be glad to help you out. Hope to connect with you guys soon. Thank you so much once again.